The First National Bank is offering a 6-year fixed deposit at 4% interest compounded quarterly. The Second National Bank is offering a 6-year fixed deposit at 5% interest compounded annually. If you were interested in investing $8,000 in any one of these fixed deposits, which one will you choose? So here you have an amount of $8,000. So principal is equal to $8,000. Now there are two schemes. Let's take the first scheme. So in the first scheme of fixed deposit, the tenure is 6 years. The rate of interest is 4% and it is being compounded quarterly. So let's say these are the number of years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Now compounded quarterly means the year is broken down into 4 parts. That is, each period, each quarter, which is of 3 months, is when the interest is being compounded. So what that means is that whatever is the interest accrued during the first quarter is added to the principal, and that amount, which is principal plus the interest for the first quarter, becomes the principal for the second quarter. Similarly, the interest accrued during the second quarter on P1 will be added to P1, and then that will become the principal for the third quarter. Now we have been given the rate of interest is 4% per annum. Now we know that the rate of interest is proportional to the time. So for 12 months the rate is 4%, and for 3 months what is the rate? So cross multiplication, 12x is equal to 3 multiplied by 4. So x is equal to 3 multiplied by 4 divided by 12. 3 4s are 12, 4 and 4 get cancelled. So x is equal to 1%. Now this is the case for First National Bank. Now in the case of Second National Bank, the principal is the same, $8,000. The tenure is the same, which is 6 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. The rate is 5%. So R is equal to 5% per annum, and the interest is being compounded annually. So what that means is that at the end of each year, the interest accrued for that year is added to the principal at the beginning of that year, and then that amount becomes the principal for the next year. So for the first year, whatever is the interest gained for the first year is added to the principal. So let's say at the end of first year we have an amount P1, which is equal to P plus the interest gained during the first year. So let's say this is I. Now this becomes the principal for the second year. So the interest is then accrued on P1. So at the end of second year, P2, or the amount, is P1 plus I1, if this is I1. And then for the third year, the interest is accrued on P2. So P2 becomes the principal for the third year. Now here the interest is being compounded annually, and the rate of interest is also given per annum. So for the compounding period, the rate of interest is 5%. So now when you have these two options, you want to deposit an amount of $8,000. So which one will you choose? So you'll choose the one which is going to give you the maximum amount at the end of 6 years. So let's find out how much is the amount that you will get at the end of 6 years with both these schemes. So let's take the first scheme first. Now we know that the amount is equal to P multiplied by 1 plus R by 100 to the power n. Now P is the principal, n is the number of compounding periods. In the first case it is 6 multiplied by 4 because there are 6 years and each year has 4 compounding periods because the interest is being compounded quarterly. And R is the rate of interest per compounding period. So for each quarter the rate of interest is 1%. So let's fill in these values. So or A is equal to P, which is 8,000 multiplied by 1 plus R, which is 1 divided by 100 to the power n, which is 6 multiplied by 4, which is 24. So or A is equal to 8,000 multiplied by 1.01 to the power 24. So let me pull my calculator here. So 1.01 to the power 24 multiplied by 8,000. So this is equal to $10,157. So amount is equal to $10,157.87. So this is the amount you'll get at the end of 6 years if you invested in the First National Bank. Now let's take the case of the Second National Bank. So the amount is equal to P multiplied by 1 plus R by 100 to the power n. So this is equal to P, which is 8,000 multiplied by 1 plus R. R is 5% because in the second case, which is Second National Bank, the interest is being compounded annually. So 5 divided by 100 to the power n. N is 6 years because again the same reason, the interest is being compounded annually and there are 6 years in the tenure of the scheme. So this is equal to 8,000 multiplied by 1.05 to the power 6. So 1.05 to the power 6 multiplied by 8,000. So this is equal to $10,720.76. So this is equal to $10,720.76. And with the First National Bank, we had obtained an amount of $10,157.87. So now we have to compare these two schemes and find out whichever amount is higher, we'll go with that scheme. So it appears that the second scheme, which is the Second National Bank, is going to pay us higher at the end of 6 years. So we'll go with the Second National Bank scheme.